Welcome to TechTalk, a podcast dedicated to building community for technology managers who serve the audiovisual and IT industry. My name is Steve Greenblatt. With me today, as always, is co-host Mark Novecchia. How are you today, Mark?
I am wonderful, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm glad we're back on and looking forward to another good show.
Yeah, I'm excited today because we're got a great friend of the industry today. So.
Absolutely, and with that, I'd like to introduce Betsy Jaffe. She is the Vice President of Communications at InfoComm International. Thank you for joining us, Betsy.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Mark.
We're glad to have you. We just, if you can, tell our audience a bit about your role at InfoComm, and then we can get into a little bit about our topic.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned before, I'm the Vice President of Communications for InfoComm International, the trade association representing the commercial audiovisual industry. I supervise all media relations, social media, knowledge management, and editorial services. So all those newsletters, special reports, and guides that you see come out of InfoComm, that comes out of my department. But obviously I work with all the departments at InfoComm quite closely to make sure that you and the public know what's going on at InfoComm.
That's excellent. So
You've been with InfoComm quite a while, no?
Yes, I've been with InfoComm about 9.5 years.
Wow, that's great.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate being informed, and so looking good from our perspective.
Yeah.
So today over the past episodes and since we've started Tech Talk, we've really emphasized the growing influence of technology managers and how their voice is making a difference, and how that difference can be viewed by some as disruptive within the AV industry, and others are embracing it. The technology managers now have more of a seat at the table. They're becoming a bigger presence at trade shows. Is this something that you guys think is a positive? And from InfoComm's perspective, what is happening and what type of reaction are you seeing from members? But also, what actions are being taken to respond to the growing membership of technology managers?
Well, thanks for that question, because it's, I think, really cuts to the essence of the issues going on in the industry right now. Tech managers are extraordinarily important to InfoComm. They always have been, but particularly growing over the last couple of years. So much so that when the board of directors sat down and wrote their strategic plan a couple of years ago, put together a 3-year strategic plan, attracting more tech managers and developing more programs for technology managers was actually a very important pillar of that discussion. And so as a result, we spent the last several years trying to build new programs, new classes, new offerings that appeal to tech managers. Tech managers aren't just important to InfoComm, they're important to the whole value chain of the AV industry, and that's what makes it important to InfoComm. We have exhibitors at our show in Orlando or Las Vegas. They closely check to see what percentage of attendees come from the technology manager community. And I'm proud to say that we've grown that over the years, and about a quarter of all attendees at the InfoComm show now are from the tech manager community, and that's great. Obviously, we'd love to see our friends from the integrator community and some of the more independent folks, design consultants and programmers there as well. But the technology managers are really often the customers of the exhibitors, and they like to see those folks there. Some of the things that we've done over the past few years, I know we've held a few DACOM, which are called Designing a Curriculum programs, with tech managers to figure out what type of training would be good for them and how we can adjust our offerings for tech managers. We have a whole track of technology manager classes at the show this year in Orlando. Not to mention, we launched a new series of shows called InfoComm Connections, targeted specifically to the tech manager community, because that's who our members, our exhibitors, want to see more of. And Beyond that, we've done some special projects with tech managers, such as recently InfoComm came out with the higher education guide for AV IT infrastructure, and that's a free, almost 200-page resource, all oriented toward the education tech manager and what AV IT considerations go into those installations. And I'd say look for more coming up in the new year and next as well.
That's just wonderful. Thank you for that. Because I think what we're seeing too, and Mark, if you want to also chip in on the subject, what technology managers like is information, education, opportunity to be involved, and some of them are doing more of a part in a project, but others just want to be an educated customer.
Well, it's something that we preach on a regular basis in terms of working with the integrators. We've talked in the past, Betsy, about how integrators sometimes have a natural reluctance to this change in the market. It used to be that they had their little, they brought a value to the end users and the technology managers in terms of what was available, what their performance was, how they fit into various applications and so forth. And now all of a sudden, these technology managers are coming out of InfoComm with that knowledge already. And it's strengthened their position quite a bit, yes?
I definitely believe it has, although, I mean, there's certainly room for all in the industry. There's a role for great integrators who really know how to work with their customers, but we do think that an educated consumer does make for a good customer, and so we're committed to providing education both to the trade, to the integrators and traditional InfoComm audience, but we're also committed to developing programs specifically for technology managers, and sometimes that education is one and the same. So it really depends on the topic at hand. Yes, we know that there's some concern in the industry with more tech managers maybe managing their own installations, etc. But I think we truly believe that as long as there are great integrators out there and great design consultants, they'll be involved as well. And it's not an either or. We have enough capacity to have programs for all.
And can you give us an example in terms of some of the programs that you've seen formulate for the technology managers that help with all of this?
Well, I mean, one of the big ones we have coming up is InfoComm Connections. It's a series of trade shows. The first one coming up March 4th and 5th in San Jose, and then later on in November we have another one going on in New York City. These are trade shows oriented specifically for the tech manager audience. It's meant to attract locals. We don't think that there'll be too many people traveling ultra long distances to these, definitely within a couple hundred miles. And the idea is to bring that show experience to some who maybe don't get to go to the big InfoComm show. Maybe there's not budget, maybe they're not high enough in their organization to qualify to go, and to provide them with a home, and also to give them that experience through training that we're offering, as well as the exhibit hall, great keynotes, and kind of give them a fun-size InfoComm, as I like to say. It's not going to compare. There's not going to be 1,000 booths. There's going to be 50-something booths, but they get a piece of that InfoComm experience that can hopefully sustain them year-round. In addition, we've been doing events such as InfoComm on Campus twice a year, where we go to different universities and put together specialty programs specifically for the education and higher education tech manager, and they've been an amazing success. And we have cooperation all throughout the industry. We've had a lot of great speakers, people like Bill Natras from Shen Wilkie or Mark Valenti from the Sexton Group and others. It just makes for a really great series of events. And beyond that, we're trying to develop new classes, and so we've been doing the research to do that. We've been surveying, and we've been putting together special projects so that technology managers can really contribute. And to show you how serious about it, just this week we had a group in of about 20 tech managers from around the country came in to give us advice. So this isn't just about InfoComm in a vacuum coming up with things, it's also about talking to the tech managers and figuring out what they want and how we can best serve them.
Which is an example that I think a lot of the integrators can take from your lead here. We see them embracing, at least where I am on the West Coast, and the customers that I deal with, I see them embracing technology managers, generally speaking. I think if you ever see any reluctance to that, it comes at the salesperson level, where they were used to being able to go in and sell something blindly, without having to walk into an office where the person already knows most of what they're going to talk about. And so that level of it still has some time to go. But from more of a macro standpoint of the integrator itself working with the technology managers, we go back to something I'm always bringing up to Steve, which is seek first to understand and then to be understood. That Steve Covey thing, where you're listening. You're not just doing something because you want the technology managers to pay attention to you. You're doing something based on the feedback you're getting from them. And I would imagine you're getting some really good responses from them right now.
We do. We haven't had any problem attracting people, even during their busy season, coming over to InfoComm headquarters to really sit down with us and be together with us. In addition, we're going to continue to try to come up with products, free ones that appeal to the audience, such as, how to work better with tech managers, what the tech managers wish the integrators knew, and vice versa. Try to promote a coming together of the industry.
So what's some of the? I was going to say that's tremendous. I think that could be a great value, and I don't need to cut you off, Mark. No, I was going to say I'd like to hear and perhaps I'm taking us off topic, Mark. If your question was more of a follow up to this, I was going to say I'd like to hear a little bit more about Connections and how that show differs from your typical trade show, and is it something that is exclusionary and the audience is solely technology managers, or are others welcome as well?
Well, everybody is welcome. So we definitely look forward to seeing members of the trade who are nearby, San Jose, dropping by, saying hello, coming through and seeing product. Basically this is InfoComm, but on a much smaller scale. There are, I believe, 52 exhibitors around at the show, in comparison to 1,000 exhibitors that you might see at the big show in Orlando.
Are they doing tabletops, Betsy? Is it basically tabletop, 10 by 10?
Yeah, and there's booths are capped at a certain size, so you're not going to see mega booths. But what you are going to see are knowledgeable personnel from many manufacturers and some integrated technology to really learn more about the available options out there. And as we know, this is an ever-changing industry. There are new products being offered all the time. I don't see this will not be a big launch pad for new products, but it is an opportunity to see products up close and to get training. We've got some great keynotes put together. I know David Danto is going to be talking about AV-IT convergence and the changing face of end users and their needs. We've got a whole lot of programs from InfoComm University, from IMCCA, InfoComm's frequent partner on all things UCC and conferencing. And then New Bay Media has a series of classes as well and workshops that relate to their tech and learning publication and AV technology publications. And so it's kind of a coming together of these different programs. People can pick and choose what they want throughout the day. They can start the day with a nice keynote. On the second day, we have Andrew Milne, who, if you haven't seen him before, he's a real treat to listen to. He's going to be talking about delivering exceptional experiences that pave the new way for work in the 21st century. He's a real expert at helping universities and other institutions really develop these collaborative spaces for the way we work today. And he'll be talking there. There'll also be a variety of tech talks throughout the day. I know I'll be giving one with one of InfoComm's partners, Aclaro, to talk about upcoming market research projects that we have coming up. But they'll be on all different types of technology topics from manufacturers and others, just giving an overview to the people who are there. So it's kind of like I say, a bite-sized version of InfoComm, and with all the networking and all of that great stuff, but local so that more people could take advantage of it.
That's great. I mean, personally, I find the local shows a great way to really have those in-depth conversations. I think we've talked about that before on other programs where you actually can spend the time talking to the manufacturer, and the right people at the manufacturer are going to be there to be able to provide information and hear what your specific needs are, and then possibly be the person that you are going to be following up with rather than at a big trade show booth, and it can be overwhelming, and you don't necessarily get to the person that you're going to be working with, or the one that is the right match for what your needs are. So yeah. I love the local trade show, honestly.
And also, this is a great opportunity in a little bit less hectic environment than the InfoComm show. If you're a technology manager and you have a lot of questions, these people are here to talk to you. They're not trying to juggle their schedules with people from the trade and their biggest dealers, etc. They're here to talk to the end users and to the technology managers. And so, the booths will be staffed with personnel who are familiar with those issues and concerns. And so Connections is just one of many programs that we have planned for the end users throughout the year. Another really important pillar of our strategic plan going forward is the concept of exceptional experiences. InfoComm is trying to educate the industry on what makes an experience with AV really sing. Not just fulfilling the minimum, like everything works in a room, but what makes it really special. And so InfoComm retained an outside consulting firm, Gravity Tank, to help us with that initiative. And what they honed down as the essence is the content, space, and technology all need to really come together. And we're hoping that through this education of the industry, that it's not just about the technology, it's about the room and how it feels, etc., that we'll be able to make the classrooms of this country more effective. We'll be able to make the boardrooms aid in better decision making, and we'll make the lives of the technology managers a lot easier. So, these are some of the projects that InfoComm is working on this year that are really major, and they're not just one-year things; they're multi-year initiatives with a lot of teeth behind them.
And it seems like, what it sounds like to me, Betsy, is that you are drawing in, by addressing the needs of the technology managers, it seems like you're also drawing in people to InfoComm that maybe weren't a part of it before. And what I mean by that is, we know when we're going to go to InfoComm, we're going to walk in, there's going to be a big Crestron booth, a Sony booth, and so forth. But this sounds like you're able to now bring in other aspects of that aren't your typical InfoComm fare. Am I communicating that properly?
No, absolutely. The whole idea is that we have a very broad tent at InfoComm. We're not just one segment. We're not just manufacturers. We're not just about systems integrators. We're not just about technology managers. We're about everyone. But there are a lot of people now who have influence over the buying decisions of audiovisual who a couple of years ago, 10 years ago or more, weren't. You see the big role of IT and more IT departments taking over AV departments, or more CIOs taking over buying decisions of audiovisual. And so it's incumbent that they learn more about the industry and how they operate, how we operate. And look, nobody in the industry wants the industry to become just another commodity. We all know that there are people who think good enough is good enough. Why invest with a big conferencing system when you could get Skype or
Right.
do a Google Hangout. But we know that the quality is a lot different, and so it's fine for you and I to hang out together on Google. But if you had a really important board meeting for a multinational company, you probably want something a little bit more secure and more focused. And it's by coming together and educating consumers, the industry, what we have to offer. That's how we're going to train that next generation of consumers, and really educate them about, the benefits of having really great audio rather than just MP3 files.
Yeah, and it goes away from the stereotypical, I need to make money on this job. I'm going to put this room in here. It needs a projector. It needs a screen. It needs these things, and that's what I need for my room. And it becomes, what can I do to make this room more efficient? What can I do to cut down on the number of people that are calling me because the room isn't doing what I thought that it was supposed to do, which is what you're talking a lot about right now. It's not just about the physical technology of the equipment that's in there, but it's about the experience the user has walking into a room, and how does that make them more efficient at their job while making the equipment and so forth more seamless to the background and less obvious for everybody that's walking into the room. We do a lot, for example, we do a lot of smaller rooms right now, I'm sure you've seen them, that are occupancy sensor built. You come in, you walk into a room, the display comes on, it prompts you, this is what you need to do to turn on your laptop, the audio goes to a preset level, very basic, simple, small systems. But before, that was just a room that somebody would walk into and, put up a whiteboard or something. And now we're finding that technology allowing people to come in and be more efficient at what they're doing for their company by having a closer tie to the technology that's coming in.
Absolutely, and we are also seeing people having to look beyond the room to the whole enterprise. When somebody from Barclays Bank comes into a boardroom, they want it to operate the same way, whether or not they're in Hong Kong, London, New York, etc. And there's a lot that goes into that. There's also so much more emphasis on huddle spaces, smaller collaborative spaces. Look, the future of business and the way we communicate is really collaboration. And so the spaces need to be oriented toward that. And what makes for a comfortable collaboration space, and I'm actually in one of InfoComm's collaboration spaces today, joining you, is a lot different than what makes a really great boardroom. And it takes, trained professionals to understand the difference, and also takes an educated consumer to demand those changes. So.
And to further that, what we see from a programming standpoint is companies, larger companies and universities, relying on asset management software to be able to monitor what you are doing in this room. How long are you on the call? Who are you calling? What type of source are you putting in? What's the resolution of the source? And they like to gather all of this information so they know where to put what type of resources to buy long term. That's something we see a lot at larger companies, a lot more private companies, but now the universities are moving towards that as well, to be able to leverage their budgets better, to put in the technology that they know is being used, as opposed to just what they hear we're using.
Yes. In addition, I've heard from one private university that they also use it just to see how rooms are being used to just improve usability. So it might be a matter of just moving the technology and not even introducing new technology, but saying, the professor sits on the edge of that table while lecturing. Maybe we don't need that piece of he's going to be blocking the display. Maybe the display needs to be somewhere else in this room. And so it's just a really different way of looking at things and doing things. We've become a more mobile society, and as part of that, people are doing things differently and using equipment differently, and our members are wise to be on top of all those trends.
And Stephen, not to dominate, but real quickly, I want to segue because this conversation has opened up my eyes, believe it or not, to something we've talked about previously, which was the councils. And we know that for years, InfoComm has had various councils that were dedicated to specific groups. You had a consultants council, a programmers council, install council, you have a technology managers council. And for me personally, I've watched those kind of change over the last maybe 5 years. And I felt that the emphasis on those individual councils themselves were being left on their own accord to do their own thing as they felt that they needed to, less hands-on from InfoComm, more hands-on from the individual groups. The challenge with that is it has a tendency to have the groups go around all over the place depending on who's put in charge. But listening to you, it's kind of opened my eyes a little bit that we're not just a specific single group anymore that can just gather. We have to think beyond those individual groups because we're bringing in new people now to this tent that is InfoComm, and we need to be able to be open to all of those facets and not individual groups of people. Am I articulating that okay?
It's an interesting point you raise. I mean, I think there's still a role for the councils, and they're certainly still in existence, and we're fortunate to have Jesse Anderson leading up the Technology Managers Council for InfoComm. But councils are constantly evolving. You know, there's a life cycle to them. The types of projects that they try to take on, sometimes there are differences due to the leadership of the council. Sometimes it's just times change when the industry gets really busy. People sometimes have less time to devote to councils. But we definitely think there's a role for them. I know that the membership committee takes that very seriously at InfoComm and has met with the board of directors to talk about you know, how the councils might change or how they're evolving. That being said, we now have the ability to have different types of councils that aren't just limited to your space in the industry. I'm actually the liaison to a new council, the Women of InfoComm Network, which is chaired by Erin Bolton. And that council will have technology managers and manufacturers and design consultants and integrators all in it. And what unites them is an interest in technology issues impacting women. And there are people all around the world in that council. We have people who meet in groups where it's only people who are speaking in Spanish or Brazilian Portuguese, and then, you know, a larger group of English speakers. But and really, if there's a group, as long as there are a certain number of people who want to get together and commit to forming a council and they petition the membership committee can approve them, and that group can become a council. So, for instance, there isn't one like this yet, but if there was a sizable group of people who are interested in digital signage or some type of technology, they too could form a council. So the councils are still there, they're still with us, but they're evolving.
That's interesting. I appreciate you sharing that, because you touched on the idea of collaboration, and I think that's, at least in the experience that I've had and Mark has had, and that's what actually, quite honestly, drew us together, was the fact that we had a council that had a common interest, and it gave us the ability to network and learn from each other and to grow together. And some of us could be considered competitors, however, we all had a common interest. So I think that there's a lot of value there, and for us, and as far as TechTalk, that's one of the things that we're trying to do, is build this community so that technology managers do have a place that they can go and meet each other and learn from each other and hopefully educate each other. It's something that we've heard is being in demand, and we want them to be able to have a home is really what, and we hope that will be a nice complement to the InfoComm Council.
Yeah, and Steve likes to refer to it as a safe place. I would kid him about it, but it really is. What he means by that is we're trying to develop a place where technology managers can collaborate amongst themselves in message boards, and we're going to do some podcasts talking about projects that they're doing and some barriers they've had to overcome and things like that, and putting together projects so they could share their knowledge base with each other without being spammed and bombarded with manufacturers that, "Ooh, I heard you have a new building going up. Let me come meet you," type thing, where they're safe and protected, so to speak. So.
Yes, I mean, technology managers definitely like to communicate with each other. There's a lot of value in peer experience, peer sharing, and I know we've done focus groups at InfoComm about this topic, and that comes up time and time again whenever we talk to technology managers. We want to hear from more people like us And sometimes people like us can be very specific. It might just not be technology managers. It might be technology managers who service the banking industry or the pharmaceutical industry or government or education. But people find real value in that, and as long as there are people who want that type of networking and discussions, there'll be various different outlets, whether it's InfoComm or your group, to facilitate that, and I think that's fantastic.
Great, great. Appreciate that. I think it all comes down to collaboration, and I guess just to kind of wrap everything together that we discussed today, I think the idea that everybody can learn from each other and grow together, and it's technology managers' increased voice in the industry is helping others do their job better, and if we look at it that way, I think that we're all going to benefit from the influence that they're providing, even though they may do some things that are going to be changing the face of our business. So just to wrap up and reiterate, the InfoComm Connections is, as Betsy said, in San Jose on March 4th and 5th. And we encourage everybody to check it out. Is there a particular website or additional information that the audience can get, Betsy, as far as registering and planning their visit?
Sure. It's InfoCommConnections.org, and you can find out, see the program, view the exhibitors, register, make your arrangements, etc. You can also find out information on InfoComm Connections in the fall, which will be November 11th and 12th at the Javits Center in New York City, and will actually be co-located with CCW SatCon, which are owned by the National Association of Broadcasters, NAB organization. So we're expecting several thousand people there, and we hope that if you're on the East Coast, you'll join us for that. And we'll see our West Coast folks in a couple of weeks, March 4th through 5th in San Jose.
Great. And are there other locations being considered in the future?
Of course. Yes. We're just scouting right now for 2016, but the hope is to have several events a year like this, in addition to the InfoComm show.
I'd be curious to see if get much of a migration from Southern California, because it's a pretty easy trip.
We are marketing it.
Yeah.
We are marketing it all up and down, I think from Seattle down to San Diego. So we are hoping to have some fly-in traffic. It's a really easy flight from Southern California. It's only like an hour. Right. And there are tons of flights, and they're not that expensive. So we do hope to see some of our Southern California folks there, too. And we're hoping to see folks from the IT industry. I noticed that looking at my registration list that there are definitely folks from Apple and Adobe who are registered to attend the show, whether or not they're technology managers or buyers. We have a lot of folks from private industry. I know Virgin Airlines has people coming. I know there are every university you can think of in California is coming. Yeah. I've seen UCLA, USC, Stanford, and the whole gamut of UC schools. So I think it's an exciting opportunity. I hope that everybody who's within driving distance or a short flight will decide to join us.
Terrific.
We hope that it continues to be a success. In summary, and we appreciate you joining us today, can you share how the audience can reach you, and is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to share?
Sure. Well, you can always reach us, of course, at InfoComm.org. You can reach us worldwide at the number 703-273-7200. Visit us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Really join our LinkedIn group. It's a great place for discussions and to learn more about the offerings. We're on Google and several other mediums as well. But please join us any way you can, and we look forward to seeing everybody in San Jose and then later on in Orlando.
Wonderful. We will be certainly in Orlando.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for being with us. Any closing thoughts, Mark?
No, I think that, to be honest with you, I figured we were just going to do a little talk today and fill in some blanks on connections and tech talk. But Betsy, you opened my eyes in terms of the effort that InfoComm is really making right now to open that tent up and to open up the opportunities for the members of this group. And it meant a lot to hear how passionate you are about it. And before I forget, make sure you tell Jason I said hello. I haven't seen his mug in a while.
Oh, I will certainly tell them. Maybe he'll make a future appearance on Tech Talk.
I would love to. He's kind of the big ham now, so But it's been years since early InfoComm, when he was just working the floor and gripping and grinning. Now he's all suits and smiles and grinning at people.
Well, he hasn't lost his touch, and he's definitely feels like the mayor of InfoComm when you go to the show. So I will tell him that you said hello.
He's one of the business's great, genuine people, and let him know we said that.
I certainly will.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Mark, how can everybody reach you? And I concur with a lot of your thoughts. I'll share some of mine at the end.
Yeah, sure. You can reach me at bmasoftwaresolutions.com. You can reach me at Mark, M-A-R-C, at bmasoftwaresolutions.com, or you can join me in my ever-growing list of Twitter followers, now 62, at Mark Lavecchia. And it's very exciting out there in the Twitter world, as you know, Steve.
I think we should make a push to get Mark to 100 followers. So everybody out there, please follow Mark. And if you know him, he's got plenty to say. So it will be worth it. I do thank you again, Betsy, for being a part of our show today. I felt like we learned a lot, and I think there's just a tremendous amount of resources out there for technology managers to take advantage of. And I think that we also agree with the fact that the influence that they have had has been not only a positive for the industry, but has given us some direction and really made a lot of what we do a lot more relevant and I think sustainable. So appreciate you joining us. To reach me, you can follow me on Twitter at Steve Greenblatt. My company is Control Concepts, and we're at controlconcepts.net. As far as Tech Talk is concerned, please visit our Tech Talk website, techtalkab.com. We have a newsletter that anybody can sign up for, and we will provide updates on podcasts and different events that we will be holding and attending. And for technology managers, we have a private LinkedIn group where that is the home of the experience sharing that we alluded to, and please contact us to be a part of that. That's a big value that we want to provide, and we look forward to continuing to grow this audience and provide some valuable content and help technology managers be more successful. So until next time, we appreciate you joining us, and you'll be hearing from us soon. Thank you.